Hey, what's up, y'all? Y'all good? I hope so. Y'all, I hope y'all had a great start to your new year. Happy New Year. Hope it was a beautiful day for you. Listen, I want to get into this clip that I saw over there on the OWN IG page. And baby, it's with the mattress and the jackrabbit, honey. He want to do it every day. She don't want to do it every day. And she acting like this something new. And he been saying the same thing ever since we met him. So I know he been saying the same thing ever since she met him. And we gonna start with their retreat, right? So at the retreat that Dr. Francis had, Maurice said to Dr. Francis, I don't see a reason why a husband and wife can't have sex every day. And I don't think that one spouse should say to the other, no, I'm not willing to. So Dr. Francis says, have you considered that a woman has the right to have the right over her body? If you want X twice a day, and Kimmi's saying, well, not today, doesn't she have the right to say that? Maurice said 100%. So Dr. Francis asked Kimmi if she had the right to say that. Then she goes into her pre-K teacher voice and says, no, he knows I have the right to say that. Maurice tells Dr. Francis that Kimmi thinks having X every day is excessive. And she confirms and says, I think it's excessive. Because he explained to Dr. Francis that his compromise with Kimmi to come to this retreat was that they have X twice a day, every day while they were there. So Maurice's question is, how much X is excessive? So Kimmi says that she can't get Maurice to understand that when they were dating, she wasn't taking care of a 5-bedroom house with all boys, and the daddy feels like mommy is supposed to do everything. She said that she was taking care of one child and one adult. She said when the X is over, Maurice gets to lay in the bed and watch football. She has to do laundry, cook, meal prep, clean up the house, get ready for the week, but he's laying in the bed while she finished doing all these things. Then she starts making excuses, and that's in my opinion, about the situation, and says that it falls a lot into her type A personality because there are things that need to be done in order to run a home, to run a business, and in her opinion, you can't have X all day when you have to do all of that. So Dr. Francis says that a type A personality would also calculate and say, we need to do some of these things before we have X. Kimmi tells Dr. Francis that he's preaching to the choir. But I feel like she missed what he was actually saying, because what I felt like Dr. Francis was trying to get Kimmi to see is, if your reasoning behind why you can't have X every day is because you have all these chores, to someone like Maurice, he can hear you say all of that, right? And since you'd rather put that on your type A personality, what is your reasoning, or the way Maurice may hear it, your excuse once all of that is taken care of? Because let's say Sunday is her day of chores. She's cooked, clean, meal prep for the week, and got all of the business affairs in order for the week, right? What else are you doing? You've cooked for the whole week. There's nothing else to clean. Nothing needs to be cooked. At that time, Maurice Jr. was there, so she was probably picking him up from school, probably taking him to his games. But even then, what else do you have to do? Because you have completed everything for the week. And I think that's why Dr. Francis made a point to say, well, with the type A personality, you would have all those things done first, right? He wasn't saying it so much for Maurice, but more so for Kimmi, in a way to say, be careful of how you phrase your responses, because you're about to back yourself into a corner. So she continues and says that she is not the one with that particular issue, but her point is that Maurice wants what he wants, which goes back to, well, you naming off all those chores isn't going to change him wanting you to roll over, lay down, get down, whatever he wants. That's not going to change just because you talking about all these chores that you got. But if you say you got a type A personality, all that's complete, right? Okay. She says he wants what he wants, but he doesn't want to transfer that over into, like, let's meet in the middle. Well, ma'am, actually, he is meeting in the middle, literally. But hey, like I said, be careful with your words. So she says she tells him to help her because they have boys. Now, the way Kimmi is saying they have boys, you would think she's talking about boys that are around 5 or 6. But she's talking about Maurice Jr. and Jalen. But she continues and says, she tells Maurice, if your philosophy is that this isn't man's work and I have a house full of young men, who's supposed to do all of this? The one who's doing it. You, girl. Because it didn't sound like you all are raising these young men to have home training, like the basics. Clean up your room. Don't leave them dishes in there. Take them to the kitchen. Wash them while you're in there. Don't leave no clothes on the floor. Put them in the laundry. Now, in their house, if she the one who wash everybody's clothes, make sure it's in the basket. On this day, you know I wash the laundry. Make sure it's in the laundry room. But if everybody else is responsible for their own laundry, take your stuff in there and wash it. You see what I'm saying? You know, stuff kids usually start doing around the ages of 10 or 11. So in Dr. Francis' confessional, he says he sees this a lot, where the man wants to be actually satisfied, because for the man it's a very important part of his emotional well-being, and for her to have to do it to satisfy him is putting her out of her own self-interest when she doesn't want to do it. He said that they needed to talk about it and understand that X wasn't something that you do with each other, but it is the sharing of self with each other in a specific way. Dr. Francis tells Kimmi that Maurice has a different level of X drive, where she has a different level of active responsibility, and that cuts back on her ability to be present to Maurice. And what Dr. Francis says next is exactly what this other counselor tells Maurice in this new clip. And Dr. Francis says, the more you do with her, the more you embrace her as a person and not just as a partner to have X with. That will change things, right? So Maurice looks at Kimmi and says, is that it? Did he hit the nail on the head with that one? And she goes, what? Maurice looks at this woman and says, the more that I embrace you as a person and not an actual partner, the more that I'll get X. I'll get meetings in the bedroom. And baby, Dr. Francis jumped in so fast and he says, that's not what I said. It's not that you'll get more X. It's the more that you embrace her as a person. As a person. He's trying to explain to Maurice to see her as a human being and not just as an object of your sexual affection. So Kimmi says, it's how it makes me feel. That's what she's saying to Maurice, meaning see me, embrace me. Don't just see me as someone with a hole, H-O-L-E, but see me as a whole, W-H-O-L-E woman. And she explains that seeing her as a person, especially when it comes to women, translate into getting what he wants. Maurice plays in her face again by giving her a hug and a kiss on the cheek and tells her that he's going to do better. So Dr. Francis is like, so you're telling her that with a deep sense of sincerity though, right? Maurice says 100%. But when he said 100%, he lied. Dr. Francis doesn't believe a word that's coming out of Maurice's mouth, and he asks Kimmi if she caught the sincerity. And her answer was basically no, because she said she felt like even when they had their premarital counseling, they've had those conversations before, and it sounds wonderful, then it just doesn't quite happen. But I think she means it doesn't happen at all. So Dr. Francis explains that X is an act of sharing the self with each other, not just giving somebody something. So again, here go Maurice with this plan talking about it should be more like a bonding experience. And ultimately, not a means to an end, right? I have to look at it more holistically as you as a person. Then in his confessional, he says X is never just about the happy ending, right? Or the climax or being ready to go to sleep afterwards. It's never just about that. There's also that you can do it again. Then he burst out laughing saying, no, it's really about connection and the bond. So Dr. Francis, he thanked them for taking the time out to talk about all of that, and he said that it'll help them understand each other. And that was quickly refuted by Maurice, because he says, one more question, Doc. Can we also compartmentalize it? Like sometimes we want to have the bond, and other times we just want to use it as exercise. Burn off a couple of calories. But Kimmi, that's what you signed up for, baby girl. Okay? So in this new clip, it starts with the lady counselor asking Maurice, in your mind, You really think that most women are able to just actually perform several times a day? Maurice says, I heard coming up that I can lay down longer than you can stand up. The counselor is taken aback and she's like, who told you that? He say that it's a saying that he heard coming up. The male counselor asks, what does the plan look like based on what you guys have shared today? Because Kimmi needs more time and connection in those things. Maurice says, it's not going to happen. Kimmi wants to know why will Maurice say it's not going to happen. The male counselor is like, that's why we're here. The woman counselor tries to ask a question, but Kimmi starts interjecting and talking over the counselors. So in her over talking, she says that energy, when he says that, that's frustrating to me because it is a negative thought and it doesn't perpetuate positivity in that space. And the male counselor is trying to say, let's find out why. He said it for a reason, but she's going on and won't let them get a word in. So when Dr. Francis told Maurice that he needs to see Kimmi as a person, a human being, be more emotionally in tune, quality time over quantity time, that's the same thing as this new counselor saying Kimmi needs more time and connection. And Maurice's answer hasn't changed. The last time he joked around and said, oh, I have to see her as a person to get more X. Kimmi says he talks a good game. And this time he said all that cutesy stuff, that foreplay, I'll do the chores this week. That ain't about to happen. And she knows it's not going to happen. But yet, she's still there complaining about the same thing. And I don't know if you all have noticed on social media where a woman will make a post, venting about her man. And a lot of the comments will be like, so when you leaving? Or, if you're not leaving, don't come over here interrupting our peace. Or, she said all of that and she ain't going nowhere. Yeah, because see, folks are tired. Don't come over here if you're not leaving, because we not about to get ourselves worked up trying to stand up for women who are going to turn right around and go off on us for trying to stick up for them, like Kimmi did when it came to women trying to stick up for her, when Maurice said that she was admirable for rolling over and suffering through it. She said they talked about how their ex-life was going to be before marriage, this, that, and the other. But every time they get into these sessions, her answers are never the same. And let me go back to Maurice saying that growing up, he heard, I can lay down longer than you can stand up. I feel like he either was told that by an older woman, or two, there could have been some type of Antoine Fisher type stuff going on, and if you know, you know. Or three, he came up with that by himself. It's one or the other, child. But listen, if y'all saw that clip, get down in the comments, let me know what y'all think. I know we really don't care. We really don't care, but hey, give us something to talk about. And I'll talk to y'all later.